oh my gosh, it's just like a rom-com? Like, what would... Dude, I gotta go meet my girlfriend's parents, and I don't have any pants.
Hey, you better not go into that strange spatial anomaly. It'll mess up your DNA.
Listen, I'm not super happy with what I got now, so I think I'll take my chances. I got my hair back. Are you all ready for a game of charades? I know I am. However, what is charades? I've never played it. What do I do? Touch my ear? Touch my head? Are you supposed to come up with the correct answer? I don't know. This episode, you could call it anything but plain. You can call it stupid. You can call it silly. But I would also call it kind of fun. You know, in a turn your brain off kind of way. With all that out of the way, let's see what's going on in Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 5. We're halfway through. Charades. Let's see what's going down. Let's get down and dirty. Guess what? Spock doesn't act like Spock in this episode. That's so cool. I love that. That's so cool. You know, what if Spock was like, not like Spock? Wouldn't that be awesome? Let's just do it like 3 times in like 2 seasons. Each season only being like 10 episodes, so it feels way worse than it is. Nothing wrong with that, right? Spock. Oh, we all got the hots for Spock. Wouldn't it be cool if he was involved with all these different relationships? All these different romances? Spock romance? That's what these writers are. Spock romancers. We're taking Spock from the past, bringing him into the future, and making him dance around for a pleasure. Maybe doing things he wouldn't normally do. Sometimes it's to a good effect. A lot of times it isn't. Listen, the power of the genie is in its confinement. If the genie is always out of the bottle, it's just this powerful being that you have to contend with. What makes the genie valuable is the bottle it's in, right? It's time to put Spock back in his bottle, lest we walk on things that are supposed to happen later. Forgetting about T'Pring, we all kind of thought Spock was not really supposed to know T'Pring that well. We took that as meaning he didn't see her since she was a kid. I mean, why else would you be looking at a picture of her when she was little? I don't know. That happens in TOS. If I'm going to go all canon on you, this review would take forever. It would never, in fact, be a review of this episode. It would be a review of canon problems, inconsistencies. So I won't really get into it. I'm not going to docket a huge amount of points for not being canon. If we did, basically everything would be getting a 0, which isn't right. We're going to try to judge it by what it is, not by what we wanted it to be, what it could have been, what it should have been. That's difficult. It's difficult to review in that way, but I really try. I want to see things each time with fresh eyes, even though there is a reality to Star Trek. Let's not get too into the weeds about it. This episode starts great. We're going to Vulcan. We're going to observe a moon, Kirkov. It's a moon or an asteroid, something like that. A celestial body called Kirkov, which was once home to Kirkovians, who are now gone. Where'd they go? We're going to figure it out. This episode begins and ends with Nurse Chapel. You may believe this is a Nurse Chapel episode, but it really feels like a Spock episode. Nurse Chapel's opening log. We're traveling at sub-impulse speed? What's that? Did you guys mean to say sub-light? Sub-impulse is like when it means you're not at impulse. So, are you just traveling on reaction thrusters? Like, what? Are we moving on maneuvering thrusters? What is sub-impulse? Does that just mean we're going at a very small percentage of impulse? Like full impulse, half impulse, quarter impulse, like 1/8 impulse? Regardless, take it as meaning that we're going slow. And we got free time. But we still need to go down to that Kirkov. What's going on with Kirkov? There is an awkwardness between Spock and Chapel. If you know TOS, you know what's up. If you know TOS, you know how their relationships work out. Roger Corby, Dr. Corby, is name dropped in this episode. If you've seen the TOS episode, What Are Little Girls Made Of, you'll know how that plays into Chapel's character. I won't spoil it here. Also, when you see Amok Time, Season 2, Episode 1, TOS, you'll know how his relationship works out with T'Pring. None of these are a huge factor in this episode. What starts off really cool, thank you. We're going to this Kirkov place. We're going to see Kirkovians. We're going to learn about an alien species. We're going on an adventure. No, it turns out the adventure was the friends we made along the way the whole time. Yay, the adventure is the interpersonal relationships. What is it with this season and the previous season of the show? And just, you're having an adventure, but then they go, no, stop having fun. The fun stops here. It's time for interpersonal relationship. It's time to see what's going on between Spock and Chapel. Wouldn't you know it, Spock and Chapel both end up on a shuttle that has to go to this Kirkov place. Womp, womp, womp. People who like each other, the worst thing you can do is put them together. That's awkward, because these people are kids, right? Like, they don't act like adults, right? They act like the teenagers that the writers are stuck being for their whole lives. I take that back. That's kind of demeaning. These people aren't teenagers. Maybe they're just stupid. See, teenagers have an excuse to kind of be stupid, but stupid is as stupid does, so we end up with stupid writing. That if you just simply stand back and bow to the absurd, you can kind of have a good time, as I did. Spock is supposed to be meeting T'Pring and T'Pring's mother on the Enterprise. They're supposed to have a Vishal dinner. They've decided to have this on the Enterprise instead, much to the chagrin of Spock and everybody on the Enterprise. Isn't it always fun when somebody's mother is aboard? If it's not T'Pril, it's Loxana, who I never really minded that much. But remember, nobody wants parents on board, okay? Whenever somebody's parents are coming, we got to act different. We got to put on a show. But it's going to be hard for Spock to put on a show after what happens on Kirkov. They go down there, and we're supposed to be seeing remnants of this ancient alien race possessing, may I add, a vast medical technology that we are not capable of reproducing. This is going to go a long way towards making Chapel's case when she tries to go on that archaeological medicine detachment for 2 months or whatever on Vulcan. She got to pass that interview. Is she going to do it? We got to go down to that Kirkov place, and we got to learn about all that old medicine. Why do you have a shuttle in Star Trek? Is it to get from the ship to the surface of the planet? No. You have shuttles so that you can have accidents. That's the whole reason for them. That's why they're there. Shuttles equal accidents. We're just taking a shuttle somewhere. Nothing's gonna go wrong. It goes very wrong. Some type of spatial anomaly. Enterprise crew, are you seeing this? As soon as you see spatial anomaly, I'm sorry, that's what the whole episode has to be about. You don't get to go on a strange interpersonal relationship between Vulcans and non-Vulcans getting married when you've discovered what amounts to a small localized wormhole to visit interdimensional aliens. This isn't Deep Space Nine. But, so you can see my disappointment. All hands on deck, we need to figure this out right now. let's not really think about it that hard. Spock came back. Chapel came back. They met these aliens. I don't know what all happened, but Spock wakes up in the infirmary. There's no points on your ears, boy. Spock turns into a human. The aliens have fixed their error. Sorry, we accidentally destroyed your shuttle. Spock, we fixed him. Despite the mixed instructions. I'm getting a flashback to Enterprise. If you've seen Enterprise, do you remember that episode where they go to that alien repair station and it fixes the Enterprise, and it even like fixed like the paint scratch or something that they put on in the first episode, and they're all perplexed by these replicators and stuff, and it's all very spooky. What's it called? Is it called Dead Stop? Is that what it is? I can't remember what it was called, but shades of that. You do see the NX-01 in this episode in the background in the boardroom, by the way. Also Spock, now he's a human. Oh no, the Vishal dinner. Oh my gosh, it's just like a rom-com? Like, what would... Dude, I gotta go meet my girlfriend's parents, and I don't have any pants. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. This already happened before last season. Do you remember, what was it, Spock Amok? Oh no, T'Pring and Spock switched minds. And then we have to go do this special negotiation thing where it's really important that Spock is not having his mind switched. What could go wrong? Hilarity ensues. And Pike is just bumbling. He bumbles around the whole episode. He's a complete bumbler. I mean, at least he's not in a perfume advertisement or a deodorant ad. That's good. At least he's not trying to sell me alcohol. In this, he's more of a bumbler. He's more of the dumb guy in the back who pulls up his pants. Yep. I don't know what's going on around here, so I'll leave you to it. Pike bumbles onto the bridge, asks these aliens. One of them calls himself Yellow or Blue or something. Listen, you done messed up our friend. You done goofed. What's going on with Spock? We did everything perfectly. Don't blame us. We're aliens. We're better than you. Even though we couldn't figure out that Spock did not have mixed DNA instructions. He just had DNA. His genetics was just Spock's genetics. Why can't you fix that and make it back the way it should have been? You have instructions in your body that build your body in a certain way. There is not two different instructions. I'm not a doctor, but I imagine an alien species existing in some type of interdimensional rift would sure as damn it figure out how to read your DNA and fix injuries. Am I reading this wrong, but are they just stupid? You'll notice that a lot in this episode. Are they intentionally ignorant? Are they lying? Or are they just stupid? A question I asked myself many times during charades. We have to get Spock back to the way he is, but Spock, in many scenes in this episode, start off seeing them with Vulcan Spock. Sam Kirk's desk is dirty. These people are telling a joke I don't understand. We get sequel scenes. As Spock becomes more human, he initially fits in better, and then fits in too much. He goes too much in one direction. You see the emotions that come out of Vulcans. They suppress them, yes, but according to this episode, a lot of it is genetics. Who would have thunk it? We just saw Michael Burnham survive, thrive, do well enough on Vulcan while being completely a human. We know Spock's mother did it, but when Spock loses his Vulcan DNA, it's the end of the world. So I guess it really is nature, not nurture. I guess we've settled the debate. As Strange New Worlds would have it anyway. He has to relearn what it is to be a Vulcan in time for that Vishal dinner. That means practicing things with his mother, who's now on board. Mothers, eh? What is it with mothers? Spock's mother's here. T'Pring's mother, T'Pril, is coming. What are we gonna do? It turns out this pot you have to hold to pour tea for this ritual is very hot. His mother learned to hold it. She's a human. But Spock, because his DNA has changed, his hands are now more like human hands. Therefore, he cannot hold this pot without experiencing pain. This is where we split off into an A plot and a B plot. Chapel, I think, feels personally responsible. Spock has to go back to the way he is. He saved me in that shuttle. He switched the shield over so it protected me, and I'm fine. They got my DNA right, but they didn't get Spock's right. My first instinct would be to, okay, well, can we just repeat the process? Can we just put Spock in the shuttle? Spock was half human, and there was another human in the shuttle. If we go there again and put a full Vulcan and Spock, maybe it'll figure out and backwards it up and make Spock back into a Vulcan? Call me crazy. Maybe that's how I would do it. They do end up going back into it, but they take Uhura, Ortegas, and Chapel on a shuttle. Ortegas drops the fact that, should we tell Enterprise? Oh no, let's not tell. Guys, did we just steal this shuttle based on a whim that we can talk to these aliens again to get them to reverse this problem? Are you completely mentally fried right now? I mean, if Pike had known, if we had to contact the Enterprise, they might let you do it. They're kind of crazy too, you see. But we do take this shuttle back into this rift. Ortegas is out of her mind. Uhura is out of her mind. So is Chapel. Whatever. Let's go back and see what happens. And we go and we talk to these aliens, and we go to some bizarre interdimensional plane. It's a three-dimensional representation of it somehow that we can survive in. That being Uhura, Chapel, and Ortegas. And Chapel, is Chapel either ignorant, lying, or again, is she just stupid? Because it takes a few minutes to coax the answer out of her. What would you need Chapel to say? Think about it like how a nurse would say it, right? Listen, my friend was here. He got hurt. You repaired him wrong because you improperly read his genetics. One and done. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. That's not what happens. We have this bizarre discussion where she's revealing the fact that she cares for Spock and she likes Spock, and because I have connection to Spock, you need to fix him in no uncertain terms. Except I experienced a lot of uncertainty. I don't know what they meant. I couldn't understand. We just kind of gloss over it and just have a cut and hope that you understand. The Chapel alone talk to these interdimensional aliens. Yeah, see, when I say it that way, you're probably thinking, whoa, we just met interdimensional aliens, and we don't have a team on this from the Enterprise. The Enterprise is not diverted to this to figure this out. We were here to study Kirkovians. We met them, and we're just taking a shuttle alone. The Enterprise doesn't know. Whatever. The most important thing takes a back seat to the interpersonal comedy drama. What amounts to a comedy between T'Pring, Spock, and T'Pring's parents. How bizarre. They get away with it because luck is a factor here. However, the Vishal dinner is going forward, and we meet T'Pring's parents. Meet the parents. Guess who's coming to dinner? The Vulcans. Her parents are T'Pril, and I think her father was Sevet. I could only interpret this from the captions. If I get that wrong, forgive me. And I love this guy. Her father, he was so cool. As soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, this is fresh. This is different. He's he's a Vulcan, but his wife is like throwing the demands around, and he has to go along with it. But he doesn't really care. It's cute. It speaks to a reality that we've probably experienced. They remind me of my grandparents, actually. It's all pomp and circumstance in public, but when it gets right down to it, they don't really care. I got that feeling, and he really exemplified that. Pike's a chef, so he bumbles around, cooks some food, he bumbles it up, and gives it to Sevet, if I'm getting that correctly. He's eating the Tevmel. This is delicious! And his wife, T'Pring's mom, is just like, it lacks tradition, you didn't do it right. And then he has to go like, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, it wasn't perfect, whoops. If we learn to live a little, we can accept the fact that in this show, Vulcans are either stupid at worst, or at best just funny. Right? And Spock becomes more funny as he becomes more human, though, wouldn't you know it? He has to go through this Vashal ritual, proving once and for all that a human can just go through the ritual. Spock's parents already had to have done it. So, T'Pring is just stupid. The message here is to, not be afraid of your genetics, go through with it, push yourself, see what you're capable of. T'Pring thinks a human can't do this ritual. And we know that Spock's parents had to have done it. So we're thinking, I guess she's just stupid. I don't like introducing characters that are just stupid. Like, it's never fun just to invent a character just for stupidity's sake. Make it fun, make it good, make them smart, come up with a problem that has an actual dilemma to it, an actual clashing of ideas, not something that just makes one side look completely dumb, which is how her parents came off. Dumb, but fun. I'm not going to lie, I did enjoy the performances on display. I enjoyed I enjoyed the dialogue between these characters. But, you can say it's stupid. You can say that. It comes down to the mind meld. And I remember thinking, how is Spock going to fake this, right? Pretend he's seeing something? His mother shared a memory of some time when he went to school to play with other Vulcans. I don't know. It's all just flavor. It doesn't really matter. Chapel arrives at the last possible second. I got your vitamins. We share a moment. We're smiling at each other. Spock is not Spock. Spock is human Spock. Chapel kind of likes it. But at the same time, what you like isn't always what's right. Another theme on display here. You can love somebody even though they're not perfect. You can love someone even if they don't do what you want. And it takes a lot of heart and a lot of class to allow someone to be different and to still love them. And that's what Chapel ends up doing here. We know how things end up with these characters later if you've seen TOS. But self-contained in this episode, a romance plot. You can call it by the numbers. You can call it forbidden love. But I would call it fun enough on screen. It gets the point across, and it got me through the episode. Spock has to go back to being regular Spock, and Chapel has to go back to being the Chapel who was forced to love Spock, who didn't always reflect it properly, even though we all knew what was going on in their minds. We finished the Vashal ritual, but Spock has the gall to admit to T'Pring's parents that, listen, a human just did it. I bet you didn't think a human could do it. I was a human all along. I did it without my Vulcan powers, which I guess are all genetic now. Oh well. Even though his parents did it, his mother is right there. So T'Pring's parents are just stupid. They're just dumb. Sorry to harp on about that, but it's something that it really cut to the core here when you have an episode that feels like it's somehow standing against itself. At one moment, it's your genetics that win, and then at another moment, it's just all your conditioning. I get the point they were trying to show at the end, but at the very beginning, it felt like the opposite. It felt like it was, contradicting itself when Spock was a completely different person by changing his DNA. Like, it didn't get rid of his memories. He was still Spock. He remembered being Spock, but just changing his DNA, I guess he can't control his body anymore. So on one hand, it's nature at the beginning of the episode, but by the end of the episode, you realize there's some nurture too. You can't go both. It has to just be one through it. Like it kind of, they don't layer onto each other the way the writers think it does. But crazier things have happened. Things have happened that made a lot less sense. I know that's not a defense, and that's not a factor in this review. But I will say I did enjoy myself. I will say that. At the very end of our episode, we have our make-up moment between Spock and his mother. Sorry things had to work out like that. Oh well, we went through the Vishal dinner anyway. I guess it was a success. Sorry to hide it from you at the beginning, and you told me to take off my hat. Earlier in the episode, Spock has to try to trick his mother into thinking that there's nothing wrong with him by hiding his ears. Remember that episode, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow? Take off the hat. Show the ears. If anybody is a Vulcan or a Romulan, don't let them wear a hat. Don't let them cover their ears. Word to the wise. Take off the hat. No hats allowed on board anymore. Why? Spock could pretend to be a Vulcan when he's not. I don't know. New rules. At the very last moment, the end of this episode, Spock's feelings for Chapel and vice versa are confirmed once and for all, and they just kiss each other. The door closes. Perhaps more happened. I don't know. All I know is that's not something I really want to see. The hardcore emotional moments in this episode, I just don't care about. The moral message, I just didn't care. I cared about Kirkov, whatever they called it. That's what I want to see. Strange new worlds. New civilizations. Going boldly. Not sub-impulse adventure that gets mired in interpersonal relationships where Spock ends up looking like a dummy. There seems to be a core problem with Strange New Worlds so far. There's a lot of Spock. It's turning into the Spock show. You can't have funny Spock all the time because funny Spock has to be juxtaposed against a serious normal Spock, right? So that when you notice something that Spock did that was a little different, you felt like you were in like a secret club, and this was really cool that I noticed this. And, isn't Spock interesting? Isn't there more to dig deep into? The mystery of Spock is more or less removed here. To be frank, this Strange New World Spock, it feels to me like Data. Data was the fish out of water character. People call Data like the Spock of TNG. In a manner of speaking, if you'll forgive me. You have a character who doesn't belong, quote unquote, and they have to learn to belong. Data, perhaps Worf, were filling that role in TNG. It's always interesting to have that type of character. People tend to gravitate towards them because they can see themselves in that character. Data was the butt of the joke. He was not in on it. He was not in on the inside joke that the rest of the crew was on. That was Data's character. It was the opposite for Spock. They got it kind of backwards. Spock, it was not that he wasn't in on the joke. It's that other people were often not in on his joke. People don't realize it, but he can dish out the insults. He just does it in a way that you're not smart enough to detect, right? So, at one moment in TOS, oh, here's a joke at Spock's expense. Oh, wait, by the end of it, we were wrong, right? We were actually unwitting actors in Spock's play while the plot was going on, right? In an unrelated way. It was very cleverly written in that way. And this new Spock, he's kind of like Data. He doesn't understand anything. He's never in on the joke, which would be perfectly fine for a different character like Data. It's perfectly enjoyable, as long as you don't cross the line and just start badgering him. But the point being is that this is not our Spock. This is kind of like a Strange New Worlds timeline Spock, where he's just becoming Spock. He's not in on the joke. He's often the butt of the joke, and he often can't dish out the jokes that our Spock could. Right? So it's kind of, so if you're willing to accept that, then this would be fine. But this is such a Spock heavy season. Episode 1, Spock, right in your face. Episode 5, Spock again. Season 1, we almost had this same episode with Spock amok. You know, how many times can we have Spock not be Spock, cause a hilarious problem, and will they, won't they, between Chapel and Spock? Like, it's how much are we going to do this? Pelia was brushed aside in this episode. Spock's mother asked about Pelia. Pelia couldn't be here. Sorry. Pelia was off doing something else. Hopefully Pelia didn't die on the way back to her home planet. The Spockromancers decided to write this episode in such a way that Pelia was not there. We're 5 episodes in now, and we don't really have the Pelia episode. I'm starting to get a little bit spooked. I play this game called Yes or No. You should try this. Go back and look at an old season. Go to Memory Alpha. Look at the episodes. You're only allowed to say yes or no when you see an episode title. You can't, no half measures. You can't go, oh, this one's pretty good, good, not good. You have to just say yes or no right quick. And the faster you do it, the more in tune you are with your actual feelings towards this episode or these episodes. And for me, in this season so far, it's been weak. Every single episode is a no. Like, the first 5 episodes in Strange New Worlds, there's like 3 yeses and 2 nos. Like, I like the first one, I like the second one, I like the 4th one, I think I like the 5th one. It's hard for me to remember right now. Suffice to say, I had recently gone back and looked at all these episodes so far. We have for season 2 of Strange New Worlds. They're all a no. They're all in the no category. We got one that barely crosses the 5 mark to get 5.5, which is not a bad review. It's just not something to write home about. Like, you're asking me to spend my time on this. You know, there's a lot of things I could be doing. You're asking someone to put in the effort. It's not just airing on TV and we randomly catch it. I have to stream this. It's an occasion. It's, you know, you don't want to be disappointing me, especially when you only have 10 episodes in a season. You only have 10. That's not an excuse anymore, right? You know, oh, there's 10 episodes, they're all going to be good. No. 10 episodes, if over half are a no or bad in some way, you're ending up with, you know, a poor season, right? And I can say that now because we're past episode 5. I would never say this until this point, but it's got me thinking that this season could be weak. We need to get Pelia in here. We need to get a compelling Ortegas story, a compelling Uhura story. We need to see some Strange New Worlds. We need to see some new civilizations. We got 5 episodes left. You better do it. I'm getting a little spooked. But that's enough about the general issues with the season as a whole. Back to just the episode. Musically, there were some interesting bits. Spock turns into a human. He wakes up. He says, "What the F?" And then it cuts. It doesn't say it. Very funny, guys. Very funny. But there's an interesting musical invention in there that sounded like Alien. It reminded me of the soundtrack to Alien. Visually, we saw the Enterprise, we saw the shuttle. Shuttle looks totally wrong. It doesn't look like a TOS shuttle. I still think it looks freaking sick, though. The shuttles in this look sick. They're some of the coolest shuttles ever in the series. But, looks wrong. Like I said at the beginning of this review, this is not a canon complaint review. This is a review based on the merits. The space warping thing on Kirkov looked pretty cool. Some shots of the Enterprise flying around a sun look cool. We got to see the NX-01 in the background. The Phoenix. Fun stuff. Interesting sets. We got to see interesting props with the teapot. Everything during the Vishal ceremony. The airing of grievances. They aired their grievances. At least on Earth, that's what we call it when we celebrate marriages. We have the airing of grievances. We stand up and we complain about each other. You're weak. You're terrible. I hope you get sucked out of an airlock. It doesn't go quite like that in this episode. Visually, we're winning. Plot-wise, how can I say this works as a plot in any way when we're discovering aliens and then we just, let's have our dinner. There's a subtle B plot here with Chapel trying to get to complete her interview to go to the Vulcan detachment for archaeological medicine, whatever it's called. She totally flunks this interview because the person interviewing her is stupid. He's a Vulcan. And in this context, this Vulcan expected Chapel to just use rote memorization to immediately regurgitate the material, not knowing that sentient creatures are unique and that they can extrapolate based on incomplete information and absorb the theory from material and apply it in creative ways. Memorization has value, but a machine can memorize things. As your technology advances, just plain old memorization becomes less and less valuable. I guess he was just stupid? Chapel just talked to extra-dimensional aliens and made peace with them in the process and got them to fix a medical error that they made from a long-gone civilization. First-hand experience of ancient archaeological medicine. How can you not be immediately in the archaeological medicine Vulcan department thing? Why are you not there already, explaining what happened? I guess they're just stupid. I guess the Vulcans in this episode, they're just stupid. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. It's a plot bad. Visuals good. Music, there's things going on. Thematically, how much more water can we tread? How much more pattern holding can we do? A tale of forbidden love between Spock and someone else who is not a Vulcan. It's thousands of years old. This freaking theme is, and this theme of, loving the imperfection in someone else. Chapel learning to love the Vulcan side. Spock learning to love his human side. The minute we met Spock, we knew he was a child of two worlds, and that was going to be the thematic core to his character. Yes, it plays into that, but how many more times can we do that? With Spock, how many more times can we have this plot? This plot operates on all of our characters, reducing their social maturity by like 15 years. In our figuring, is that what you want? funny scenes of Spock doing things that aren't like Spock, punching the air, screaming at Sam Kirk to clean up his desk. I laughed. I had a few laugh out loud moments. What's that worth to you? You're going to have to ask yourself that. This episode, all those things being said, I'm going to have to go and just give it a straight 5. What can I say? The Spockromancers are at it again. Reanimating the old corpse of Spock, the character we knew, to make him do funny dances. Because he's a funnier character than we've ever had before. So we really got to get this working. With that out of the way, I'm Lieutenant Mark. I'm going to see you next week. We got lots of fun things coming up. We got some unboxings coming up. Stay tuned for that. And we must be near the end of Star Trek Resurgence. We must be getting close. Oh well. I'll see you when next time I see you. Goodbye.